Shalom Aleichem Rabotai, this is Rabbi Kovacs, and here is the Mishnah Yomi for Shabbat Shalach. We're zoche today to learn about Shlihut, Shlichus, on Shalach. So yesterday we talked about partners who co-own a field or a batch of grain, and they both took Truma. And Rabbi Akiva there said they both took Truma on their own half. The sages said the first one to take the Truma, if he did it Kashir, he took the Truma. Now Mishnah Dalet explains, B'meh Devar Memorim, we're in the third parak, fourth Mishnah, B'meh Devar Memorim. When does this apply? When does Mishnah Gimel apply? B'shalo Diber, when the partners didn't speak with one another. So there's a good musar here. If you're business partners together, you need to have open communication and know who's responsible for what aspects of the business. Aval Hirsha, but if one partner gave permission, Hirsha's Lashon Rishus, then it works. Then one partner can take Truma for the grain that belongs to both of them because he's Rishus. The Mishnah says not only that, et ben beito, or et avdo, or et shivchato, litrom, truma to truma. If it was even his children, somebody in his own house, he can give permission to. Or his eved, his shivcha, he can have his servants, his hired help, whoever it is, he can give somebody permission. He can make a shaliach to take the truma, and that's valid truma. Shlach lecha anashim. Here they could send someone to take the truma. Now this is interesting. The Mishnah continues, bitel. He was mevatel his permission. He ripped up the permission slip. Now what's going on here? The Bartanura says after the shaliach left, to go down to the threshing floor, wherever it is, to take the truma, the owner of the produce or the partner was mevatel, revoked his permission. Imad shalo tarom bitul. If he revoked permission before the shaliach got there and took the truma, that invalidates the permission. Ein trumato truma. So therefore the truma is nothing. It's not truma at all. If it was after the shaliach to actually separated the truma, trumato truma. No, he thought he had permission, and he was acting on the assumption he had permission, so it's valid truma. Now it's interesting that even though the shaliach didn't know about it, if the bittul, the revocation of permission, happened before he got there to take the truma, it works. So somebody else's words or activities far away could have an effect on him. And we mentioned that quantum mechanics has a makor in the Mishnayos yesterday. We had Schrodinger's truma. Where's the truma? Which one's the truma? Is it this one, that one? Is it both, neither? So this is quantum entanglement, which Einstein calls spooky action at a distance, that particles that were once together have a certain metaphysical link. So here the shaliach and the mishaleach have quantum entanglement. They have halachic entanglement. So the action of one at a distance, even though the other one doesn't know about it, has a halachic effect. Mishnah concludes, apolim, workers who are working for an owner, ein lem reshut litrom. They usually do not have permission to take truma for the owner's produce, chutz min hadarochot, except for the tramplers. Now these are the guys who step on the grapes. Apparently they found guys with big feet, or guys who were master grape tramplers. It was probably a more common profession back then. They would hire them to trample the grapes. Shehem mitami metagat miyad, because they would, if they are tame, mitame the gat, which is the reservoir holding these grapes and smushing them into the wine, miyad, immediately. So if these guys are tame, they're going to tame up the thing immediately, and once they've stepped on the grapes, they're wet, and they're makabel tuma. We want them to be wet. We want the grapes to be squished, so they're makabel tuma. So they have permission to take truma. The Bartanura explains why. Because the owner of this wine press, or the owner of this crop of grapes, he's an Amaretz. We remember them from Demai. And the Amaretz, as we learned in Demai at great detail, they weren't careful with Tuma and Tahara. And these tramplers, the Dorochos, the big-feeted professional grape squishers, these guys are Chaverim. And they are careful with Tahara, so they're going to trample these grapes and make delicious grape juice, which is tahor, but then the owner is going to come down and stick his finger in it, and boom, the thing is tame. So they have an implied permission to take the truma right now before the guy sticks his finger in it while it's still tahor, so he can give the Kohen something tahor. So they have an implied permission, and that's good enough for them to take truma. Very good. Mishnah Hey, ha'omer truma takri zebetecho. Someone said, the truma for this grain pile is in it. somewhere in it. And the Meiser is also in it. Trumat Meiser ze b'toicho, and the Truma from the Meiser is also in it. Rabbi Shimon Mer Kar Hashem. Rabbi Shimon says that's a valid designation of Truma and the Meiser, the other tithes. Chachamim Omrim Ad Sheyomar B'tzfano Obedro. No, he has to specify where it is. So he could say that the Truma is up there in the north, the very far north 2%, and the Meiser is the Bedromo in the south 10%. So you have to know where it is. You can't just say in the pile somewhere. Rabbi Elazar Chisma Omer Homer Trumat Kri Mimenu Olov. So Rabbi Elazar Chisma says, someone says the truma for this kri, this pile of grain, is taken from it for the rest of it, karashem. So according to him, that works as valid designation. According to Rabbi Elazar Chisma, you don't need to specify the place. As long as you're taking the truma from the same pile, and you pull out some of the pile, you'll be okay. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer HaOmer Isur Maser Ze Asui Truma Meiser Lov Korashem. He says, not by Truma, but by Meiser Sheni, if you just say 1/10 of this clump of Meiser Sheni, or this bucket, or this pile, or whatever it is, it's Meiser Sheni. Remember, that was for the, Meiser Rishon, my bad. Meiser Rishon was for the Levi, and you have to take the Trumat Meiser from Meiser Rishon, not from Meiser Sheni. We're both saying, you take your Meiser Sheni to Yerushalayim, and Bimhera Be'imenu B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to eat our Meiser Sheni Yerushalayim, but this is speaking about Meiser Rishon, which goes to the Leviim, and the Levi has to take 10% for Trumat Meiser. So Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says you don't need to specify a certain place for the Meiser, for the Trumas Meiser in your Meiser Rishon. Just say it's in there somewhere, and that's a valid designation. Shavuot Tov.